welcome everyone to another Friday live stream chat about lessons I've learned working through a TCG and uh, just all those kind of things that I want to talk about. This week we're talking about lessons learned working with an art team. I've had the privilege up to this point of working with a very amazing art team who I very much love and respect. They've been really great people throughout the months and years working on Genesis, and I wanted to give a little bit of credit towards them and also to highlight some of the lessons I've learned working with them. So let's jump into this. As always, I want to start this presentation by talking about why we're doing this. So I'm basing this off of a book I read a long time ago, which is Lessons Learned in Software Testing. So each week I wanted to share the lessons I learned from designing a TCG. So this book, Lessons Learned in Software Testing, is written by James Bach, a really great tester, and he just inspired me a lot as I went through my career as a QA. So if you have any questions or anything, make sure you leave them in the chat and I'll get to them when I get to the end of the presentation. But the big reason why I do these presentations every week is I want to practice presenting, being in front of a camera, being in front of an audience, and talking about a topic I feel comfortable with. So I feel that everyone should spend some time practicing presenting because this is a very useful skill that you'll need throughout your entire career. And it may make you uncomfortable from time to time, but it's an uncomfortableness you should work through. The other thing is I want a commitment to connect with the community on a regular basis, let you know that I'm here to talk to you, to share my thoughts and feelings and opinions on things, and I never want to be fully disconnected from the community. And lastly, I want to put out content related to designing TCGs and CCGs for creators out there. There's a lot of content out there for creating board games, which is great. But I would like to see more content out there about creating TCGs and CCGs. So this is me sharing my learnings about that. Alright, before we jump too far into this, I want to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. Special shout out to Andrew, Gunther, Steven, Will, and Good Time Games for being our top tier supporters. Patreon has helped us out so much throughout the pandemic, so it's great to see so many people come and support us on that platform. And I want to give a huge shout out to our future leaguers. So every Friday at 7 p.m. they come and test on Tabletop Simulator. So if you get the opportunity, come and join them tonight at 7 p.m. on Tabletop Simulator. And if you our next roundtable, which is happening on May 3rd, it's at 6 p.m. So it would be a great opportunity to come there and talk with us about your feelings towards the game. So Future League isn't just about testing the stuff. I want to hear from you about your opinions, thoughts, feelings about the entire process. So come join us. And if you're part of the Future League and you want to get these promos, the Olgi Kokori and the Celestial Hegemon, make sure you join that Discord server and you join the conversation there. Alright, so let's jump into this topic. So freedom in artwork, or just the lessons I learned from working with the art team. So I want to start off by talking about you need to have a good assessment of who you are as an individual. I am not the best artist out there. I know that about myself. But I have a lot of knowledge about testing complex systems, a good amount of knowledge about algorithm designing, linguistics, English. I learned all that in university. Those were my disciplines I focused on. I'm self-taught game designer. And more importantly, above all the hard skills, I have the soft skills of a willingness to do whatever it takes, and more importantly, I'm willing to apply the principle of learn, pivot, keep moving. This is a principle I've been following through my entire life, and I think it's applied a lot in here. Some early advice I was given when I just started the process of game designing or starting a company was be willing to outsource any part of your company except for sales. When it comes to the money coming in and out, that's one thing you should never outsource. Or at least when you do, make sure it's later down the road when your company's a little bit more strong and it's because you can't deal with the workload of always doing sales. But the part about building on the company, that should be done by yourself. But anything that builds up the company, those are things that you should be willing to outsource when the right people come across. And I'm not the greatest artist. The artwork that you see on the screen there, I did that a long time ago. That's my skill set. That's like the pinnacle of my strength when it comes to being an artist. Um, so I knew where my limitations were. I did not think I could achieve a good enough result in the art discipline that I could do it myself. So I hired someone. The first person to join the company, to join the team, was an artist, Arthur, and he came in and he helped align things. However, I was so excited to get a partner in that we didn't clearly communicate on are we on the same vision when it comes to the company and the artwork. And that's one thing that I really wish I walked away with, is knowing what is your vision for the game, for the project, and don't let someone else take complete control over that. Make sure you have your vision, your goals, and you communicate that outwards, but a willingness to let other people take ownership over parts of the project and take ownership over parts of the company. So hire people to do things that you can't do yourself, and find people who share that vision with you. Another lesson I learned is don't assume you know what your artists want. So Leslie, who's one of the best, well, I mean, all the artists on the team are amazing. I don't want to say there's a best, but I very much respect a lot of what she does, because she comes in and a lot of people look at her artwork, look at her portfolio, and just assume that she is purely a anime artist. But she's not. She can excel at anything she puts her mind to. And Skeleton King, which is up on the screen here, is a perfect example of what she can do outside of her comfort zone. A Skeleton King was started off as a passion piece. We saw it online and we're like, we want this to be part of the game. So we bought the rights to it. But it's not something that was made for Genesis. It was just something that was made, and it just goes to show how amazing of an artist, how much variety she has. So every artist I worked with has been in the early stages of their career, and they're super ambitious. They want to grow, they want to become better as they go on. And I know that our company, our project, is just a stepping stone in their journey. So I'm never sad when an artist leaves our team, but I am disheartened when an artist comes in and by the time they leave, they haven't gained a lot of skills from this project. I want to make sure that who they are at the beginning and who they are at the end, they're different artists. They're stronger. They're better. They have a clearer understanding of who they are in this discipline. And the only way to understand that is through communication. Communication is key when it comes to growing a team. The only way to learn what your artists want and need is by asking them to sit down and have a conversation and get to know them as individuals, and find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. So you got to get to know them on a personal level. The better you know who they are, the better you can make sure they grow. So don't always assume that your project is more important than the artist worked on it. The artist, the people, the team that works on your project makes it what it is. So for anyone who's working on a CCG or any project, make sure you value the team that you're working with. They are the people who brought your project to reality, and you got to lean on them and you got to respect them for that. Azrael, thank you for giving the shout out from Chris from Dragon's Den. I need to call the guys there. It's been a while since I've talked to them, so thank you, and shout out to the people at Dragon's Den for being longtime supporters of the project. Alright, moving on. So one thing I learned, which is very important, is to give your artists freedom and ownership over the project. So many artists come into a project and they're just being told what to do. They are given direct instructions. This is the quality we're looking for. This is the scene we're looking for. Sometimes they're given really fine details of what they need to do. And so I always learn, give them the freedom to explore and grow. Let them show you the world they've been painting it. You may have had this vision of what the world looks like, but they lived in it. Yours is just imaginary. Theirs is concrete. They've been able to put pen to paper and show you the world that they live in. I know, like, I met all 8 champions before they came into existence. I didn't get to see them until an artist took a picture of them and brought them to life. So sometimes your weakest artists can impress you when you give them a lot more freedom to grow. Looking at Revenge of the Phoenix, the artist that worked on this, Anna, every piece she had to do up to this point, she struggled on. I know there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversations when it came to working on those pieces, and she always delivered quality in the end, but it took her time. It took a lot of time. But Revenge of the Phoenix, this was a passion piece. We just asked the artist, take the champions and draw fan pieces for them. And this is what she delivered. And it just went to show us, it reconfirmed why we had her on the team and why she was such a good artist. Don't just assume that because an artist is weak, that they're no good. It could be that the instructions you're giving them, the confinement you're giving them, that's what's holding them back. Trust your artist to do what's best for the project. If an artist loves what they're doing, they will show it. It will shine through the artwork. If you let them fall in love with the world that you're creating, they will create amazing pieces to go with it. The more they love the work, the more that love shows. So give them the space to experiment. One thing I learned a lot when I was a QA is people would assume that the QA industry hasn't evolved over the years. It hasn't grown. It is what it's always been. And that's because if you're not part of that discipline, you haven't spent the time to learn how that discipline has changed. Not everyone can spend time to learn everything. I like to believe that the world's grown enough that each discipline has so much microscopic changes that for you to learn it all, it's impossible. Even with the age of the internet, even when we have the opportunity to learn everything about everything, we just don't have the opportunity to learn we don't have the opportunity or the time to do it all. So I learned as the months went on that what I thought was status quo for artists, it's been changing a lot over the past 5 to 10 years. And they wanted to experiment with things they'd never done before. Technologies that weren't accessible to them in the past now are super accessible, and they want to try them out. So we give our artists the opportunity to try new styles, new techniques, and it's okay. Not every artwork in the game has to be completely polished, but if the artists are more passionate, I think that they'll deliver, in the end, higher quality stuff for your project. An example of this would be the Behemoth, the Amiet Behemoth, and Welcome to Jalar. Damian wanted to experiment what it was like making 3D models, so he made that as a 3D model. It's a really powerful piece when you understand that that was the first time he did it, and he delivered something that was absolutely amazing. And a big thing, and I think JC is mentioning this in the chat there, don't assume your vision that you have for an art piece is the best. A lot of the times, I think I have an idea that is the absolute best possible vision for that card. And then I give the artist the description, they interpret it in a different way, and they show me something that's 1,000,000 times better than I could have ever thought. Give them the direction they need to fit your vision, but give them the freedom to explore. That's why when we give our artists a particular piece, the only information we tell them is who's the subject in the piece, who's the object, so who's doing the action and who is the action being done to, and then what is the mood of the piece, where's the location of the piece, and then we give them a vague description of what the piece should look like. And then we let them decide how to best approach it. And they've always succeeded. I've always been proud of the artwork that they delivered. Azrael, I see your question in the chat. I'm going to get to that. We have a QA section near to the end. So thanks for leaving the questions. I'll get to them in a little bit. All right, moving on. So we give them freedoms, but we also give them boundaries. And this is a weird dichotomy, I think, in creative work. You need to make sure that despite giving them so much freedom, you need to make sure that your vision is true. So your vision of the world stays true. Your vision of the game stays true. Your vision of the art style stays true. We didn't have a lot of those things when we first started. When we first started with alpha and beta, it was purely just how much money did we have and which artist could fulfill that assignment. Um, and as we're growing, we're getting more and more explicit with all those things. So a big thing is you need to be able to push your team. So giving them directions, like I said earlier, your project is a stepping stone in their career. You need to make sure that you can push them every step of the way so that they can be a little bit better when they leave. We should be looking for the growth and healthiness of our team as an output of what our company does. You should not assume that they will grow and learn on their own. It should be part of your own company philosophy. So the artist that settled and became complacent with their artwork, they often create pieces that end up starting to look very emotionless. And no amount of money can fix that. You have to get them excited about something. So you either giving them more ownership, or you start getting them to align to your vision a little bit better. You start getting them to see what you see. Get them excited about the world that they're building. And then we need to make sure we define ways to make each iteration that we put into this game a little bit better than the one previous. So we went from beta to J. We introduced the idea of canon. We wanted every spell, every art piece to be a character in the world. So if you look at teleportation here, it's a really strong piece. I love this piece. But if you look at teleportation that comes out in Welcome to J. Lara, it sings to me a little bit more because it's Kendra on the piece. It's an actual character on the piece. And that's what art piece I'm more willing to reuse as we move forward. So when we went from beta to J, we introduced canon pieces. And then when we went from J to Rays, we introduced the color palette. If you looked at artwork in Rays, more often than not, you could look at the artwork and not know the affiliation and assume what affiliation that card's coming from. And that is a very powerful thing to have. In Origins, we'll be taking things another step. Don't want to spoil it too much, but we have plans and we want to grow as we go. Now, the one unfortunate thing about having a team is that sometimes you gotta let people go, and the ones that we let go aren't the ones that are bad artists. They're the ones who are lacking in the soft skills, who we give them a lot of freedom, but when we give them these boundaries, they don't want to adhere to those boundaries. They don't want to listen to those things. And those are the people that over time we eventually have to let go, because they're making the entire environment of the art team a little bit weaker and less desirable to work in. Alright. Moving on. I touched on this a lot, but I think it's very important to make this an explicit slide on its own, but trust your team. You are nothing without your team. So I mentioned this before, the art team converts your ideas from your imagination into reality. They bring life to your project. They don't just see the world, but they live in it. They're part of it. So don't be so prideful to think that your vision is the only right way to see the world. There are different nooks and crannies that your artists go to visit that you've never seen about your world. There's different parts of it that they see that you don't. Alim, for example, this piece, it was a random piece. We didn't know how to approach it. We had no idea what this art piece should look like. I just told Demyan, I need a creature who represents knowledge. And I started listing some items that represent knowledge in different mythologies. And he's the one who brought this all together to make this amazing artwork. So the lotus represents knowledge in Indian mythology. The conch represents knowledge. So all these things, he brought these together and made that piece. He saw something in the world that I couldn't see myself. And I was thinking about this piece later, this statement later on, and I think it's something that you need to highlight. It is true that your artists can be replaced. You can let go of artists who are either too expensive, who don't see your vision, or who aren't great for your team. But you shouldn't. They shouldn't be replaceable. If you start assuming that you're the only one who's part of the project that's irreplaceable, that's when things really start falling apart. Because you start you can't you can't force people to just see the world you see. Um, and I want to really highlight Damian. Damian has been amazing and instrumental about bringing Jay Lara to life. Without him, I don't think we would have seen such a rich world. And if it wasn't for Leslie, when she created Malevolent Spirit, which is the first artwork in the game, um, before that, it was just a game. Once she made that one piece, that one artwork, it became a world. And I started living in it. I started breathing it. And don't replace your artist. It's such a, unless you absolutely have to, I think it's one of those last resort things. See if you can work with them to get them back on the right track. And then only then, if it doesn't work out, then sometimes it's a personality difference. I know I talk to my team about this a lot when they join on, but I'm not the best leader in the world. I'll admit that. I'm human, I have flaws, and I am difficult to work with at times. I get stubborn and things like that. So sometimes artists don't like the way I conduct things, and that's fine. If I don't work for their to make a rich, healthy work environment for them, then that's okay, and we go separate ways. But if you can compromise, if you can find a way to get it all together, then that's where you should try to achieve. That's the state you should try to work towards. All right. So just as a summary, first point. Okay. So first off, I want to say everything I said here can be related to all the teams. It's not just the art team. I think I can relate a lot of these topics to the game design team, to the content team, to the sales team. However, I don't think the art team gets a lot of attention. So Damian, Mikhail, Philip, Mario, Alex, Arthur, and Leslie, if you ever see this video, please know you have my deepest gratitude, and I know everyone on the game design team and in the community loves you for the work you've done. Everyone, all the artists, you're amazing. So just to summarize all this, know your limits, outsource the parts of the company that you cannot do good enough on. Understand what is your minimum bar, and if you personally can't achieve that bar, you need to hire someone. Don't just try to do it on your own. And then don't assume you know what your artists want. Each artist is on a journey, but be their stepping stone towards their ultimate goal. Be willing to be a small part of their journey. Give your artist freedom. So if you pigeonhole your artist, their passion and love for the project will deplete, and everyone will see it. Everyone who looks at the artwork for that game will notice instantly that these artists aren't in love with this project. They may still deliver high quality pieces, but they don't love the project that they're working on. Give them direction so that your end vision can be cohesive. So it's great that everyone can go off and do their own thing, but make sure that their own thing is within the boundaries of what your world is trying to represent. So that at least it becomes a cohesive palette to everyone. One thing I remember getting a lot of compliments on in the early parts was, even though the artwork style seemed so varied, the world as a whole felt very cohesive. And that's something you need to work on for your team. And then lastly, trust your team. They brought your world to life. Trust that they will do what's right for your project. All right. I'll get to QAs. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them, and I will address them before I wrap up here. But that's I have some announcements, but that's more or less the presentation. So Azrael asks, how did you guys actually get a hold of each artist? Is there a specific step to go about picking artists? Again, this is another case of where I trust Damian and the art team to figure things out. So at first, we just went, I would go onto websites like Fiverr or Guru and find people, commission art pieces, have one-offs. And then as that artist would do more and more pieces, I would ask them, hey, do you want to be part of a team that I'm assembling? It's kind of like that Avenger moment where Nick Fury is going around trying to get all the Avengers together. I was going around getting all the artists together, watching the performance and bringing them together. Once we had a core team that wasn't ebbing and flowing, they gelled and they became really great together. We started asking them, okay, what would be the process you would want to see to bring new artists into the fold? And then they started coming up with different things, different criteria, different assignments. And then we started experimenting with those as we brought in new artists. And then eventually we got to a point where we had a solid workflow of what we wanted for an artist. Now that's changing again as we move forward to the next step, but that's kind of the big steps that we took when it came to the artist. And a lot of times we would ask artists, we would tell them, this is how much we can commission per piece. Are you comfortable with that? And if they said, no, that's way below what I'm worth, I need this much, then I always applaud artists who are firm in how much they're worth, because it's really, really hard to set that tone. If you are an artist and you know you're worth a certain amount, don't compromise. There are always more projects to look for. It just might take you a little bit more time. But we would tell those artists, sorry, we don't have that budget right now, but we'll keep you in mind for when that budget does open. And I think we have gone back to those artists time and time again when our budget does open to bring them in. So that's kind of our process. John says, I learned to trust artist Mikhail when I was having troubles with Whip Smash. He captured it perfectly. Yeah, and that's a big thing, trusting the artists. Whip Smash, I think, came out really, really well. There's so many times where I know, like Carl with, what was that one? Makara. That one, the artwork came out a lot better than he was expecting it. So there are times where the art team does really surprise us, and we trust them to do what's best for the game and to grow the game the way we can. Alright, so just to wrap things up, some upcoming events, some announcements. So keep in mind, every Monday night there's Meta Mondays. So that's happening on Discord. You can join that group and start playtesting stuff and help doing research on what the meta of Genesis looks like. Exploring the libraries Tuesday nights. North of Exile does the live chat Thursdays. We do this Fridays at 3. I might look at pushing these into about 6 o'clock, just because right now it's the middle of the workday. I think people are just busy. Let's push this closer to 6 o'clock, and I'll let people know when that change is happening. And then Future League testing happening later tonight. So if you're part of the Future League community, or you want to influence how the game's looking, the future of the game looks like, join that. Upcoming events, we have a tournament this Saturday if you're available. I appreciate it. I'm working on my own start of TCG, so that any information to that's helpful. You're welcome, Azrael. I'm grateful that this is working for you. If you ever have any topics you want me to cover, any things you're challenged on, and you want me to address those things, let me know. I'd love to talk about them. Or if you want to come in and do more of a one-to-one discussion on a live stream instead of this more seminar style, we can have a back and forth conversation. I'd love to have that too. So let me know. Reach out to me. You can send an email. Contact us at hauntedcastlegaming.com. You can also go on the website and find my personal email somewhere. So Future League tournament happening this Saturday. The Codex, new chapters coming out beginning of May, and then beginning of May also is our town hall. So come join those things. And if you haven't been following the card pitch contest, we've gone through 8 ideas already, right? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yep. And we've eliminated 4. We're on to the next 8. So we're getting through these pretty quickly. And I think after the stream, shortly after the stream, I'll be putting up the next round of votes. So make sure you're following us on Facebook, Reddit, or Patreon to get the opportunity to pitch those, to vote on those ideas, narrow them down. And if you have ideas, we'll be doing another pitch contest next month. So this isn't the end of the world if you missed it this month. JLR 2nd edition, it's coming soon. I'm really, really excited about this. More stuff's going to be coming soon enough. And then as for upcoming topics, here are all the topic ideas I have. The next week I want to talk about is playstyles in Genesis. This was something recommended by someone in the Discord chat. So I want to get to that and talk about it. So if you have ideas that you want to add to this list, let me know and we will do that. Okay. So Azrael says, driving and all my questions are coming from voice to chat. So yeah, that's good. I get that way. Yeah, so if you have any questions, any ideas for upcoming topics, let me know and I will bring those to life soon. That's it for today's stream. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. And I will be doing my best to share this video so anyone who missed it can come back and watch this later. And thank you again to all our Patreon members and to all our partner stores that carry Genesis. We are very, very grateful for the support, the love, the passion as the game grows and expands across North America and the rest of the world. That's it for this week, and we'll talk again next week. Bye.